It's close. Matter of seconds, I just make sure we're all on. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Let's do roll call.
Steve Smith,
Here.
Randy Chitwood,
Here.
John Ketcher,
Here. Okay, number 2, discuss possible approval of the minutes of the December 22nd, 2020 regular meeting. Hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call for vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Ketcher.
Yes.
Any petitions? No. Buddy Glenn, you're up.
Well, I don't have a whole lot on there. I mean, we've been running a sweeper on like the days above freezing. We've been trimming a few trees. We've been dipping ditches until this last rain that we've had. We've probably dipped 350, 400 feet of ditches. One of the main ones that we done out there, we had a request out there on it's Northeast Graham Court and Gaither Road. There's a citizen out there was having trouble with his drainage, so we went out there and took care of him. We've got another one over on, I guess it'd be Kauai Street, between Kauai and 7th. That new housing addition where we've got some ditch we got to dip and put in some pipe over there. I had a request today. We've got some sidewalk work coming up, of course, weather permitting, on South Van. I guess there's I'll say a handicap, but there's an elderly couple over there that's, I guess it walks, and some of the sidewalks, trees over there, I guess, is broke up, some of the sidewalks. We've got to go in, cut roots and tear that out. Like I said, getting weather permitting, it may be just a little bit before we can get to it. But other than that, that's about it. Just working calls. Somebody will call pothole or lots of debris has been thrown in the road here lately. I don't, like this afternoon we had a piece of plastic that wouldn't even fit in the back of a pickup, but where did it come out of, I have no idea. So we got it stuffed down there and got it roped down, hauled it off. But other than that, just kind of our everyday, everything taking care of business.
You got anything, everybody?
Yeah. The other day I was, and I can't remember her name, but I worked with her. She longtime waitress at Thomas's. 106 South Hogan, across from Thomas Williams' house. She talked about being standing water in the front and back. But one of the big things is a deep ditch that needs marked because cars keep running off in it. So I drove by there after I spoke to her. What I'm looking at is, it's got the open ditch, but the road is so high and it just drops off. You know what I'm saying?
106 South Hogan?
Yeah. Like you're going to, from the...
Is it like where the old bus barn is, kind of almost
Across the street.
across the street from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've dealt with that.
That's Betty Watkins.
Yes,
Yeah, Betty Watkins.
yeah. She's, I mean, years ago, I guess, when she's assigned an easement or something going across her property, and there was drainage that puts across through there. A lot of her problems she has is the driveway to the north of her. When they redone their driveway, they poured concrete across it and didn't put any drainage pipe up underneath of it. So now when the water builds up, instead of staying in the ditch, it goes in front of the house, because she's got a drop end out in front of her house. Well, that water's all supposed to go to that. Now it all builds up and goes around onto the street. Then it comes down and runs off the side of the road because of the crown, and it goes into hers. Well, where the yard's up here and the house is down here, and the yard's even deeper than that.
Yeah.
We've gone back here and see what we can do. It's just, she's gonna have to fill her yard up. I mean, over years and years of, mowing grass and whatever. You blow dust around and dirt. Things can settle, but we've looked at it, and I just haven't really figured out anything that we can really do. Even in the backyard where that drainage goes, there's a drop in out back where the water comes down the alleyway and stuff, but I know water comes from her neighbor's yard in the backyard and comes back across, but we can't go in somebody's backyard and pile a bunch of dirt just to keep water from going in her backyard. I don't know what that would, I mean, what we need to do to solve it.
I mean, is there anything that any ideas we can give her? That maybe she could have someone come in and remedy that?
Well, like I said, the bad part is the road and her drive is higher than what her house is. I mean, even her carport down there where that water stands, it's so much lower. And like I said, in the back where the ground, where it comes this way, then comes around to the back. Like I said, the neighbor's yard, it flows over into here and goes out. I mean, it slowly does. I mean, it's nothing fast. On up to the southeast corner of the yard, I think there's I believe there's a drop in where the water, where it comes down, it's supposed to go into that and go under that pipe underneath the ground that goes back out to the back alley. I know part of her problem, like I said, with the neighbor, unless, there's something that wants to force them to tear out their driveway and have them and put a pipe in it. I mean, that would alleviate a lot of the water, because right now it goes out into the road and comes down and then drops off in her yard. It's blocking basically where that drop in is in her front yard is, because it's all supposed to stay there, come straight down to that drop in. Well, now everything goes around it off into her yard, down her driveway and stuff to the back. So, I mean, I don't, unless y'all come up, I mean, if there's a thing that the city can do, say, well, you're gonna have to tear this out to fix it, but I mean, it's been like that for, as far as, I mean, it's for quite a few years.
It's been that way for years and years. Perhaps to make sure that the flow is clear from that drop in there on that southeast corner. That would be something that, perhaps might help.
But
If that neighbor north of her would allow us to cut that driveway and put a drain pipe in, and then repair the driveway, that perhaps would be a solution.
well, I mean, that would help. I mean, but again, all of these houses that's built lower than what the streets are, that's what we run into with the city. There's a lot of the houses were built, and then when they come in and built the roads, then they built the roads up. So everything falls down to them. But like I said, this has been like this for quite a while. I mean, we've gone back and done, we've cut stuff away from our fence out back, to try to help alleviate the water problem. But I know she said before that the water comes from the neighbor and comes over on her. That's nothing I can do about that. That's just.
Well, when I drove by and I noticed just how high that road is, I mean, it's a good drop off before it even gets to that ditch. Is there not sometime down the road, could we not fix that road, bring that road down?
Well, I mean, you'd
Allow
have
that
to, there's, I don't know, probably several years of, I guess, of overlay on that.
Yeah, why can't we just scrape off all that overlay on one of our next projects and bring that road down? Maybe that will help relieve.
Yeah, I mean, well, even nothing else up front, I mean, you could probably, where the crown is on the road, I don't know if it's possible. I mean, that may be something we'd have to talk to Steve about, but I mean, where the water would come out on the road, where it would go to the other side, but then again, you're forcing water over on, there is another drop in over on the other side of the road, in those other people's yard, where you could force the water to go across and not so much into her yard. Because I know at one time, but say a lot of times they've been using that front for Offstreet Parking, which, sometimes that doesn't help with the gravel and stuff down through there. That, I mean, after a while when it washes, I know it washes down in their drive, but that would be the only thing. I mean, it's just something you'd have to have the water run off somewhere else besides over on that side of the road.
Sounds to me like it may be something that we want to put in Steve's hands to take a look at and see what we can, how we can make an improvement there, and if it's feasible and affordable.
Well, I believe at one time, I think we even talked to her about pouring a little small head wall out front, but she didn't like that because she wants to have the off-street parking in front of her house. So, I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not something that we just, I mean,
Right.
we haven't looked at and went on. I mean, this is something that's, you know, we've tried to deal with in the past, but it's just, I mean, there's not a whole lot, like you said, unless you come in and change the street view, you know, of making the water go somewhere else besides right there next to her property. That'd be the only thing that I know that you could do is send it to the other side of the road.
I didn't know if we could lower the road so that way it stays in the road and runs back down towards that creek.
I'm not sure, cause again, across the street, you've got, the church parking lot, which I'm not sure if that's cities. I'm thinking that's their parking lot. So you'd have to take that into consideration, cause you would probably have to go, I would assume you'd have to go back all the way to Southeast First Street to start cutting it down. Trying to think
That's
where,
why I'm saying it might be something that we want Steve to take a look at and engineer.
well, I mean, it's something we can look at to do. I mean,
Different options.
that'd be one thing to just have to, like I said, to redo the street to a different height. Or, like I said, or try to build it up before then or something to push it over, or, you know, maybe make a drop in somewhere else, you know, before the house, but yeah, there's been more problems since the neighbors put their driveway in than what we have, because that has the water to build up, rolls out into the street, comes over, then comes back because of the crown. So you say we might be able to take the crown out, and it may flow it across the street or something. Just something we can look at.
Does the city have easement into those ditches on either side of the road, or is it just the roadway?
Well, there really has never been any ditches through there
Okay.
until you get past their house. There's another drop in just south of her house out in the front.
Mm-hmm.
But where the drop in front of her house is, that's because the city put in that drop in with the pipe that goes down to that next one. So, I mean, when they was having problems with it, you know, here years back or whatever, well, that seemed to alleviate the problem. But then again, you know, like I said, with the neighbor's driveway, now the water can't get to that drop in, so it has to build up and go around. Well, now it completely misses the drop in that was put in years ago. And I think the ditches don't actually start till you get down, almost, what'd be Second Street.
But yeah, just when it starts dropping.
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be looked at, but like I said, I mean, there's probably several options that you could do, but,
But I appreciate it.
well, like I said, it's not something that we've ignored. I mean, we've addressed the problem several times. It's just everything that we've done so far. I mean, it hasn't really been enough to alleviate the water because of, again, where it sits. It comes down to her house this way, and everything comes through here, and then off the alley, it'll come down and roll, and it all goes to the corner of her house. Well, but then you got the neighbors, when it builds up, it won't let her yard flow out until this yard goes down. So, I mean, it's kind of
Or it's a lose-lose situation.
yeah, I mean, that's just,
One other thing.
oh, okay.
It's time to talk to Steve about. Did you go by, Steve, did you go by and look at North Van going up towards 4th Street? Where I said there were some potholes.
Are you asking me or you?
Yeah, he's asking.
Yeah.
I did go up there and look at it at the request, and we've got some edge cracking that's going on the street that people have driven off the side of the road and tore up the ditch, and it's not operating. The ditch isn't operating. This needs to be one of those ones that needs to be dipped, but at the same time, it's the reason that the problem is because the road edge is so soft and people are parking in their front areas. That's why the water thing, it actually comes onto the street, it's off the street, and then goes back on the street again.
Yeah. I mean, there's some potholes there too,
Yeah,
out in
there's
the
some
street.
I think that street is one that we ought to be looking at continuing the work on, the next round of street rehab work. It's got some full depth patches need to be done, but primarily, as we're getting more and more deeper into this, a lot of our problems are drainage associated, edge problems. And Buddy's doing a good job with dipping the ditches where we can, but that's a place where the ditch is there, and then it's gone, and then it goes out on the street, and once it gets out on the street, there's no place for it to go. So we're gonna have to do some corrective action at that point.
How far north Van? I don't,
Right before you hit 4th Street, you know where they built that garage, that white shop? Between 3rd and 4th.
yeah,
It's right in here, right in here.
Right in that block.
Yeah.
We had, there's a short stub street there.
Block between Third and Fourth. Right in there.
let's see if that's Van, okay.
So kind of in the middle of that block.
Mm-hmm.
The road is in bad shape.
Yeah.
Councilman. We need to address that. It's just a patchwork, and it needs to be worked. But it's all because of drainage getting underneath the road. We have not put together a street package at this point. We need to do that pretty quick. And we've got some input from this community.
Thank you much.
Okay, I got a couple of things. Been brought to my attention more than once. Lines on the, center lines on the streets, been brought to me more than once.
Okay, what streets?
He didn't really tell me,
Okay, well, that,
but I went down Kuwaya. He's basically saying that the bicycle trails, people are going around, and so the center line is being wore out where the bicycle trails are, and basically the bicycle trail signs are still pristine. I don't know, I didn't drive around and look at, but I went down Kuwaya, which is fairly wide, and it's a bicycle trail, and there's no, basically, you don't see the lines on it, so I'm just throwing that out there. The other thing that was brought to my attention is, I'm sure you're aware because we keep putting asphalt back in it, somewhere in the Fairland area, there's a big pothole in the street that we've been just,
yeah, something's gonna have to be some base repair, but I think it's gonna have, MUB's gonna have to go look at it because they have
a leak.
a leak somewhere down there, because when you drive the street sweeper over and sweep it, you have water pumping coming out of the ground. So until they fix their leak, I mean, that's all I can do is patch it, cause I'm not gonna spend
Right.
several $1,000s on that to dig it out, redo the base and put it back and it won't stand.
It won't stay good,
Yeah.
they need to find the leak. Okay.
Yeah, and most of these side streets through here, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that, a lot of these where is there any type of law that states that we have to put center lines, on these streets? I know probably maybe at one time it may have been done for some odd reason, I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
But, most of the time, I think we had the notion that you painted the lines on the side of the road on these side streets to keep people,
Right off the side.
yeah, because it kept, especially when you have an earthen ditch, that it helped keep people more stable up on the road instead of a center line trying to hug it where they're more on the side. But,
Well, I think, it doesn't really matter to me how wide the street is. I've seen it myself. People tend to drive down the middle of the road when there's no traffic coming, so I think people got enough common sense to avoid traffic. So I'm just
yeah,
pointing out what's been brought to my attention. And I got another question kind of towards the mayor. Frank Powell come to me the other day and asked me about the cemetery streets. And I don't know if they fall under Buddy's jurisdiction or not, but I didn't figure they did. But they're wanting some repairs done out there.
Yeah, been some, they've been named, but they're not, as far as I can go back to records and look, they're not an official street. I know the ones, over on, what would it be? The north, no, it'd be on the south side of the cemetery. Now, when we had that one laydown machine,
Right, you're going in there.
yeah, and we went in there and tried working some of the streets, or the roads that's in there.
Well, I kind of figured they'd probably have to go with the mayor and he'd have to have a discussion and go, probably get a contractor to come in there
Yeah,
and
so,
come out of their budget.
yeah, so what the plan is, yeah, that would come out of cemetery budget, out of Parks and Cemetery budget. But then to ask our city engineer to go, to plan those streets, give us estimates so we know how to budget that for the next coming fiscal year. So that is in the plan to repair streets there in the next coming fiscal year.
Last city council meeting, they came to me and asked me about it, and I had to tell them I didn't know, I didn't figure it fell under our jurisdiction, but
And maybe the street department assists, but that would come out of the parks budget, out of the cemetery budget.
okay, we all good now? Buddy, you wanna go explain about the CDL license, Class B CDL license required for street department employees?
Well, over the, I don't know how long that this has been a requirement for employment for the street department, because the dump trucks for the weight wise on them. So they've required a Class B driver's license. Well, now the trucks, the ones that we traded in, and the two green ones, we traded those in here on this last one and got a new one. Well, they're a non-CDL truck. So, and one of the reasons we're looking at them, I mean, there for a while, I mean, trying to be able to hire somebody that has a Class B driver's license is almost impossible. I mean, because in order for you to have those, you have to go take, a written test, a driving test on your own, for that. If it was just like basically just like a written test, but you have to go rent a dump truck and then to go do this. And again, it's not a guarantee a job if you get one.
Right.
But that's what we're looking at. But also, it's getting to the point now where with a Class B, you just can't go down to a tag agency and get your driver's license. You have to go to a DMV building to get your paperwork completed. They have to sign off on it. Like with insurance, like with the city, we are medical card exempt working for that. Well, even if you go online, I've tried to go online. Because I've been trying to get mine renewed now for 6 weeks. Nothing. And they've given everybody till the end of February to, if it's been from December or January, they've given you to the end of February to be able to get them done. Well, in order to do this, you have to be able to get in someplace, make an appointment, which for the last 6 weeks or more, there's been no such thing. Again, it's not like we can just go down to some tag agency, say, hey, my license expired, here's my credentials, I need to do this. Well, you have to go to a place where basically to do a background check on you every year, eye exam, and all this here. And just for those 2 trucks that we had. So now it's getting to the point where it's almost impossible to get your Class B license anymore because of what reasons, I don't know. I mean, it's like the state's been closing down all these areas where that's making it impossible. But the main reason, like right now, if it's just the equipment that we have down there does not require a Class B CDL anymore. We don't plan on getting anything bigger to use to drive. Like with the utilities department, that's the size of dump trucks that we're getting now. That's what the size they use, and they're all a non-CDL license because nobody across there are required to have one. So that's what we was trying to get to do, is just to do away with that.
So you're saying that all your employees are required when they got hired to have a Class B license?
Correct. That's almost impossible to get So we've had some, we told them as well, if you'll go get your license, then we can look at hiring you. So we've had to turn away some fairly decent, people that, for their applications. But again, it's $300 to $500 to rent a truck to take a driving test in, and which you don't even really know. I mean, like I said, besides that, you don't know if you're going to get the position or be hired because of that. So there's most of them that's not willing to go spend that type of money and have to spend that amount of time trying to acquire these licenses.
What's the gross vehicle weight rating of the trucks you're using now, the dump trucks?
Yeah, I think it's 20. I think for non-CDL, I think it's 26.
It's under 26,000.
Yeah.
26,000 and under.
Yes.
Or do you ever put a trailer behind it?
No.
Okay, that was one question I had, because you put a trailer behind it, you have to add the weight of the trailer to it, and that'll put it over 26,000.
Yeah. No. Most of the trailers we have are with the 1-ton pickups we pull, the Bobcats, the skid steers on them, little excavators. The 30-foot trailers the same way. We don't hook them onto the dump trucks.
Okay, so there's no combination you can use?
Yeah, no, because we got
26,000.
well, we have a, what's it, a Durapatcher, but we can use the regular, just like I said, 1-ton on it. But yeah, there's nothing right now that we really use that comes up that requires that
Okay.
license.
So there's no combinations you put together that'll total over 26,001? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because even if you're an F-250, say a single rear wheel's 10,000 or a dual rear wheel's 13,000 GBW, and if you put a 14,000-pound trailer behind it, you're over 26,001 pounds, and that requires you. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Nothing that I can see. I mean, again, I've talked to a lot of guys, well, everybody that's had them down there, and I said, if it's something that we need to talk about, and of course, there's a lot of them that said that they would like to keep them. Again, in case something happened, they had to go find another job or whatever, or if it ever comes back where, that they would have to. But I would just like, that's what I'm just looking at, if it's something we don't have to have, but probably 9 out of the 10 down there would like to keep their license.
I don't blame them there, because
Yeah.
that Class 8, once you get them, they're
I don't
there.
see that as a problem with the ones that have got their licenses to keep them, but I guess what we need to do is look at our hiring policy and to have it changed to where you're not required to have it, but it's optional. You can agree with that, Mayor?
Yes, and that's basically what this motion does.
So, any more discussion on this?
Mhm.
So, asking Mr. Mayor, how should we just go ahead and approve this? Or should we clarify it more?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that it needs to be clarified any more than what we have here. I'd like to see this committee approve this and send it on to council.
Right.
The way that it is. And if anyone in the street department
Yeah.
wants to keep their Class B
I'll make that
license.
motion that we forward this on
To the full
to
council.
the full council, that we eliminate the Class B for new hires, or just eliminate the Class B.
Have a second?
I'll second. I thought Larry was had another comment the way you look.
No, I was staying here in case someone else
Okay.
wanted me to
Thank you.
respond to something.
Call for vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay, number 6. Discussion regarding a list of streets for the next street project. Steve, could we have your input on this?
We have not generated a list at this point. We would welcome any input from this board on streets that you'd like to see included. A little bit of history. Back in 2013, we analyzed all the streets in town. We prioritized, ranked them from 1 to 5, and have been working from that list ever since. With few exceptions, a few adjustments here and there, we have followed that plan for the last 6 or 7 years. There have been some streets added to it for one reason or another. We had, last few years, we diverted the priority to downtown area, first doing the east-west streets, then doing the north-south streets along both sides of Graham in an effort to improve those arterial streets. South Elliott Street comes to mind. That was a street that was not a high priority ranking, but it was a high profile street that we got repeated questions on doing some improvements on. So there have been some exceptions to the rule. I am currently having my staff put together a graphic map that shows all the streets, different colors that have been worked in each year, the last 6 or 7 years, which I'll give to Buddy, and then with your input on any streets you'd like to see, along with our priority ranking that we've done before, and Buddy's input for sure, we'll come up with a list of streets that we think should be presented to this board, and then onto the council, we would hope, for the next round of rehab work. At this
Which
time,
will
we haven't
be in
generated
our next physical year, our next budgeted year. So we've already got this year planned out
that.
for,
Yes, sir. This year's, what you're seeing in 2020, 2021, that's going now, those funds, we came up with extra funds. We have funds that were left over from the current job that was completed October, November? I don't know. H&G paving, it was, what is it, Mayor? I lost track.
We finished in December.
Yeah, okay, let's go with that, because I know it was a long time. And that was a 2-step project. There was 2 phases to it that lasted. It got strung out because of COVID and various other sundry issues, but it is completed now, and we had some funds left over, which are still available for that. And we just haven't had an opportunity at this point to generate the next round of streets that needs to be done. I understand that you all have some streets you'd like to include in that to make sure that they're being considered. Obviously, 4th and Van area we just talked about. I'll have to claim ignorance on the 106th and South Hogan, or 106 South Hogan. I haven't looked at it. I will take a look at it, see if there's any street work that can be done. I agree with Buddy that lowering the street seems like something you could do, but may have other ramifications that causes problems that we don't want to get into. And it's pretty expensive per foot because you're not just milling off the street, you're tearing out a street and actually redoing it from ground level up. So we'll take a look at it, and that'll be one of our streets that we'll consider.
Appreciate it.
one of the streets that Buddy and I kinda talked about is South Bailey at First Street, looking at maybe improving the drainage, but First Street itself needs a lot of work. Mud's gone in there, tear it up, and it's pretty rough. So I'm looking at a fairly large project there. And when you get the time, I'd like you to go look at that and give us your opinion on that one.
I will, Counselor. I have looked at South Bailey Street, south of First Street. I know there's some major drainage problems there just south of that intersection. We are looking at some other improvements, drainage improvements in that immediate area on some property that to the east or to the west of Bailey. So if we're going to do multiple projects in that area, we need to coordinate those so we're not a left hand, right hand. But I will agree with you that Bailey Street, much like a lot of streets, has bar ditch on sides, and it's experiencing the slough off that goes with that. That drainage that we're talking about there at the corner of Shipman's Funeral Home, it's plugged. The line that goes underneath the road is completely plugged. So almost any rainfall event has to go over Bailey Street. They've done some improvements on Shipman's Funeral Home property to get the water to Bailey quicker, but the line going under Bailey is so plugged, it's just collapsed.
Well, I'm actually talking about south of there, down by the First Free Will Baptist.
Free Will Baptist Church, right.
We're gonna have to address that drainage coming from the church that runs across there. Plus the
I am
fact-
familiar with that as well.
Plus the fact that that mud is going in there on, that is First Street, isn't it? Cause Second Street's the next street south. Anyway, it's the north end of the Free Will Baptist Church.
yeah, there's
That
a,
street is pretty rough.
somebody put some concrete blocks in there to, build up their yard, so that as a result, the ditch is pretty narrow at
So,
that
yeah,
point.
so we're probably looking at a significant project down the road there to improve however far we go on Bailey Street, but for sure.
Okay. We will look at that whole stretch. The area immediately south of Northeast First, Old Highway 20, that first block in there, I would say that even though there's some major needs there, I think the coordination with other projects probably will require that one to kind of be deferred. But that far south that you're talking about, that's one we can certainly take a look at, and see where we are.
Okay.
Others,
Anything
any
for
other
Steve?
streets?
We good?
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
Any unforeseen business?
Nope.
Call for adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Call for vote.
Ketcher,
Yes?
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your input.